Exactly.
So, basically, the final verdict of Game 2 was...
It was a victory to myself.
Awesome.
Nice.
Basically, because I had 4 of the 6 control points, there wasn't any way that Bernard could get a win. As long as you have the 2, obviously you win by a clear margin of 2.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, okay, Game 3.
Game 3. Well, for my sins, I was drawn against Alessio.
Nice.
Yeah, and his
So a
Undead Army.
rematch from the open day of
A
your...
rematch from the first
good.
open day, yeah. Except it was Undead versus Undead this time.
Well, beggars can't be choosers.
No.
Well, that must have been fun, so, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. Obviously, because as the rules designer, he's still testing the game as he plays. You know, and he's looking at it from the whole design perspective. Also, I wouldn't say he cheats, but no, I'm not. No, he doesn't cheat. Because he's written the rules, sometimes he falls back into playing a previous version of them, or maybe as yet. This could just be a bit of talk that, oh yeah, this is the next version of the rules type thing.
Right.
Forget it. It's just something, you know, to keep a watch on, and it's not being dishonest or cheating or whatever. It's just having written the previous rules, having written the current rules, and been testing future rules as well. It's getting muddled, basically.
Right.
Yeah. Well, anyone who's played a war game and they've been through an edition change, they know exactly. Yeah, they've done the same thing.
Although when you said you thought he was cheating, I was about to say you do realize this is going to be broadcast across the net, right?
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
Well, I'm just saying, dude. Anywho, so did Alessio win? Or
yes, he did.
You couldn't show the game designer up. Poor John.
No, well, I just have to say, you know, fuck you and your Balefire catapult, Alessio. Yeah, it hits on 6s. 5 turns out of 6, it hit me.
Seriously?
Yeah.
It's like what, 0.39 of a chance now or something?
No, it hits on a 6, so it's whatever, 16.67% chance of hitting.
Yeah.
But he hit 5 shots out of 6 hit.
And was it like? I mean, the new rules are obviously more devastating if it's only hitting one.
Well, it depends, because obviously the new rule is you roll to hit, you roll to wound, and then you roll the amount of blast damage. Right now, but Alessio was playing it. You roll to hit, you roll for the blast damage, and then you roll to wound individually with each of them.
Yeah.
And that's obviously a throwback to a sort of previous incarnation of what the rules were.
And how many were you able to get? Like how many can you roll?
Well, but as generally your blast damage is either a D3, a D6, or 2D6 in some cases.
Right.
Most of the war machines are a D6 now.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know. It doesn't make a huge amount of difference. I don't think, compared to what it was before, where it was like 10 shots or something, but hitting on 6s, and now it's 1 shot. Yeah, so there's a lot less chance of hitting, but when you do hit, there's more potential for damage really in 1 dice roll.
Right, I see.
Although you can obviously still roll a 6 followed by a 1, and you're like, you know, screw this was a waste of 50 points.
So is that how he took you out, or like?
No, he probably just outplayed me. Yeah. He did have a unit of Vampire Knights, which are pretty hard. The Bloodbath rule, which is basically the Evil Dead rule on steroids, which is for every wound you cause, you get 1 back.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, so I mean, it really fucking hurts when they hit you, because these guys are coming in with like 20 odd attacks.
Okay, well,
hitting on 3s and wounding generally on about 3s or 4s.
Right, so wait a second.
For every point of damage they cause, they get 1 back.
Oh, really? Oh, so that's what the Bloodbath is compared to like
that's
1...
Bloodbath.
Compared to 1 per combat.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was a little confused there for a second. Okay.
So yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, used to good effect then.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, since you were plunged...
I will say as well as his expensive unit of Blood Knight or Soul Reavers, he did have a vampire on horse, and he did have Morgoth. You know, so Morgoth and the vampire was literally more than half of his army.
Right.
Wow.
Okay.
So since you were tumbled down the leaderboard after losing to Alessio,
Yeah.
what was next? What was game 4?
What was game 4? So, game 4 would have been Sunday morning.
Okay.
Yep. And it was like a very nice 9 o'clock start on a Sunday morning.
Do you remember game 4?
Yes, I do remember game 4.
Is it hazy?
I will say, obviously, the licensing laws in England are different to Scotland. And also, I think because Maelstrom's, it's kind of like private function place, where generally the bar is open when they are.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if it's a good idea. It was certainly very refreshing, but I don't know if it's good for building any sort of tournament pedigree. Personally speaking, anyway.
To encourage it.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Fair enough.
Although I think, well, I'd done not too bad on day 1, having been sampling from the bar, so I figured I might as well do the same on Sunday, which kind of proved my downfall, I believe.
Right.
So let's see. Game 4 was against Al again and his little hairy dwarf gunline.
Right.
Basically, he learnt a hell of a lot from our practice game and fucking wiped the floor with me.
Oh man.
Even playing the rules properly this time, where when I charge, you have to charge me back the next turn. He kind of learned. He hadn't set up in a sort of straight line.
Yeah.
He'd set up more in one corner of the table in a sort of little hedgehog shape and went, yeah, come and get me.
So he kind of castled, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think he'd put silver bullets in all his handguns and organ guns and cannons.
Oh wow.
That over the night. Yeah. So yeah, I got a quite a severe pasting in that game.
Okay.
Well, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well. Anywho. Okay. Game 5. We're getting near the end here of the tournament.
Game 5. Game 5 was against Tim King, who was the guy doing the tournament results over the weekend and was drafted in as a sort of spare player. Because of the odd number.
Was there a dropout?
No, there wasn't a dropout. There was just an odd number of players.
Okay.
So they were kind of... It depended. There was a different person basically taking in the stand-in place. I think sometimes it was if one game finished really quickly, that person was playing the extra game. Mm-hmm. As like, but not as themselves, as like the Mantic minion, as it was termed.
Right. Okay.
So, and he was using a human army as well, which was a bit of I don't know, it wasn't quite a gunline army, because it had knights and that in it as well, but it was quite a defensive army.
Right, okay.
Right.
And again, he castled up and let me sort of run the gauntlet of lots of silver bullets again. Meaning another early trip to the bar was kind of in order.
So, were you finding at this point then that your army choice was maybe not holding up competitively because it couldn't really adjust in these situations?
No, I think it was probably my own fault for forgetting the Evil Dead rule. But
okay.
No, it's one of those things, isn't it? It's like obviously the tournament was as much about playtesting things as actually saying, you know, it's not who's the best player. It's like, let's test this and see if it works type thing.
Yeah.
And somebody's got to take those kind of extreme lists, because otherwise what happens is they think, oh yep, everything's fine, everything works, and they put it out to the public, and somebody's like, yeah, I'll go extreme. Yeah, I broke your system.
Okay.
You know. Yeah. So yeah, you obviously. I mean, they could do it for all the playtesting in the world, but as soon as they get out of that little sort of meta game and go to a wider group, it changes the entire dynamic, and that's part of the benefit. Obviously, they're drawing people in. They've not just got like sort of Nottingham game player group there. They've got like guys coming down for Scotland. They've got guys coming up for London. Further afield as well.
Right.
So everybody's kind of bringing their own type of game.
Okay, well, we might touch on that a little bit later, actually, once we finish up the tournament report, because we actually wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah.
So,
so final game.
Final game, game 6, was against Thomas Pugh, who would be Kudasquarius on Warsia.
Okay, can I just ask about where were you in the rankings at this point? Were you doing well, or?
I have no idea.
Okay, fair enough. No, that's fine. That's fine. Just keep going.
I don't think it was. It wasn't being listed. I think it was listed at the end of day 1, and it was listed at obviously the end of day 2 when we finished. But basically, it was just a case they put a note up with so and so play on this table. I mean, by this point I had a win and 3 losses, so I knew it wasn't going to be near the top.
Okay. Right. So go on about your game anyway.
So I was playing Tom and his undead army, and it was interesting because his was kind of like the opposite of mine. It was big hordes of infantry, lots of character support, and balefires, whereas mine is just units. So that's one, because having at this point forgot about Evil Dead. It was like, I don't have anybody with heal, you know, so I can't take any damage off my units, but basically it's just me being a spaz and forgetting stuff. So it was obviously playing another undead army, and as soon as he was like, all right, Evil Dead, so I take this damage off, and I was like, oh my god, you fucking idiot.
So did you have to change everything mid-game then?
No, I just, from that point, started taking the damage off when I caused damage. So
right.
It wasn't a case of change. I mean, I generally just use D10s for damage anyway, so it was just a case of remembering to drop it down 1 every time.
Right.
Okay. So
yeah.
So was it, obviously he wasn't going to castle against you, so was there a different strategy going on?
Well, yeah, because he was letting me come to him. And basically he was making sure all his units stayed like about 18.5 inches away from me, so that I couldn't charge him. So it was kind of like, right, I'm just going to have to move up. It might take a couple of turns because you can only back up so much before you run out of the table, and then I'm going to be able to pounce.
Yeah, as you do as a werewolf.
Yeah. So it kind of got to the point where, I mean, he had some lucky shots with his catapults where he was wavering units after doing 1 damage. It was quite interesting though, because generally what I found was he was firing all 3 catapults at the same unit and just rolled all 3 dice at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, rather than doing each one individually, and like saying, right, the first catapult's going to shoot this unit, potentially get a hit, do some damage. Next catapult's going to shoot a different unit. But again, it's one of those things where it could be speed up play, because you know, it's the same with elites with dwarf war machines. When you're next to your warsmith, if you roll 2 dice because you've got the reroll for elite, if one of them's a hit, it's a hit.
Fair point. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so
at the end of it all, how did it go?
The werewolves were triumphant. Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Again, I'm going to put it down to remembering Evil Dead this time. And I don't know. Well, Undead v Undead, I've played before with a more standard Undead list of my own, and it's just a slugfest. You know, it's like we hit on a crap score, we wound on a crap score, and we get a wound back, and then you do the same to us the next turn, and we go on like this all night.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Whereas the werewolves are like, we come in fast, we hit hard, but you don't really have to do much damage to us to get rid of us.
Right.
Although you can throw a bucket of attacks at us and very few are going to wound.
Right.
Whereas we're not throwing as many attacks out, but we've got a higher chance of causing wounds.
Right.
Obviously, Tom had the benefit of having a couple of necromancers and that running about behind his line, so he could heal units where he needed them most.
Right.
Excuse me, I'm going to cough.
What?
It's interesting to note the change to the undead giant rat dog things now as well, where they actually, if you use them, there's a 50% chance the upgrade's lost.
What? That's really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, it now means that a skeleton spear horde isn't. I don't know. I would always say it was like one of those kind of must-have units as a center point for your line. You know,
now it's not
pumping out extra attacks. It's not that it's not. It's just not as much.
Right.
Because there's a chance you're going to lose those dogs. Obviously, you've still got the Evil Dead rule, but you're paying for the extra attacks. You're paying for the dogs because of what they do, and there's a chance it's not going to do that all game.
Right.
So
okay. So end result of the tournament was
End results.
I hope it was fun. But...
Yeah, it was definitely fun. It was a privilege to be there or to be asked to go, basically. And I think I was about 11th or 13th or thereabout. It was the bottom half of the table anyway, but not
that's
the bottom
not
quarter.
Too bad.
So not bad for
a test. Yeah. Okay.
For a test.
So you mentioned Q&As and erratas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What kind of an effect did they have on the weekend?
Well, basically after every game, we had a little Q&A session in the bar in Maelstrom.
Appropriate.
And yeah. It was basically just discuss how the games went. Did anything kind of glaring come up? Was anything kind of making itself known as being a potential issue, like Master's death? And that's the interesting point, is of the top 3 armies at the weekend, there were, I believe, 11 Masters of Death in them in total.
Wow.
Holy crap. That's a...
Wow.
Yeah, it's like a fucking football team, eh? 4-4-3.
That's a lot of assassins, pretty much.
Yeah, okay, so
that
there was
up.
clear problems. Were there any subtler ones that were brought up?
The captain, who is the special character for the human list.
Yeah.
Now, he has, his special rule is, before the game begins, you roll a d6, and he can give that many units Vanguard, which is a free march move at the start of the game. Now, you apply Vanguard to cavalry, like a unit of 10 or 20 cavalry, and you see where the kind of problems coming in.
Yeah.
And it was, funnily enough, it was one of the things I looked at before the tournament, was the captain, either 2 hordes and 2 regiments, or just 6 regiments of cavalry. And again, it's one of those things that I like the idea. It's a very one-dimensional list. You know, it's all heavy cavalry. It's going to run at you fast, and it's going to hit you hard.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And obviously the potential there is to roll a nice high number for Vanguard moves and basically be sitting a few inches away from your opponent at the start of turn 1.
Right.
Okay.
And then you just charge.
Fair enough. So did any of those...
so that was flagged up. That was changed at the time to be a D3 roll rather than D6.
Oh, okay.
Again, you could still get around it by taking 3 cavalry hordes, but obviously the footprint for them is pretty big.
Yeah. Okay, so that's fair enough. And there was...
What else?
Was there other... there were other changes. We won't go into all of them, but there were some, weren't there, that...
Yeah, basically characters come up as an issue in the double treble attacks for flank and rear because of their sort of maneuverability.
Yeah.
I don't know, it might be changed to they just have their flat attack rate no matter where they're attacking. because obviously you don't get double, triple attacks on them, so they don't get them back to you. And the bloodbath rule was considered quite powerful as well.
Okay.
Well, that's pretty much the whole tournament.
Right.
So,
Yep.
I just wanted, we know this wasn't supposed to represent a full-on tournament, but was there any things that we haven't already covered, obviously, that they really did get right, or is there anything they kind of really need to change in the running of the tournament, or in just the way they've kind of ruled things? I mean, don't go into the actual game rules, because we'll deal with that later.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, one of the things that came up was having the rulebook printed out. Obviously, it's a great resource over the course of the weekend. It's really handy. Just, it's in your pocket. You check your unit stats, whatever. But it's probably something they should have waited until they'd had the feedback from the Invitational to change it.
Yeah.
Or to change any sort of glaring omissions, or...
Well, they'll be able to change it for the PDF version, won't they? I guess so.
Yeah, I mean, it's always potential to change it for the PDF, but again, that PDF then, to an extent, invalidates buying the book.
Yeah, I did actually wonder. Yeah. It's kind of funny. That was our next question, which is, is it a good idea to print the version 2.0 rules before the playtest event? And clearly, no. Unfortunately.
No, it wasn't. I mean, in hindsight, it's a wonderful thing, To be honest, I still like this little copy of the book that I've got, even if I'm going to use it just to mark off what I've painted for each army. Or, it's just a handy thing to have sitting by the computer or whatever, and work out army lists on the fly.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's one of those things, and I can scribble on it or whatever with any changes and things. And this is the thing now. It's like some people will get up in arms about it, and it's like, they fucked up here and all the rest of it. They haven't really, because compared to other companies, what they're doing is, again, you can still get a free copy of these rules. They have now opened it up, and they've said this before as part of their plan, to the biggest playtest group imaginable, which is the entire world.
Yeah.
So now, if it's something you want to be involved in, you go out, you play your games, you get the feedback together, and you send it back to them. And it's one of those things where everybody can then contribute to make this fucking spot on for the big hardback rulebook that they want to print next year.
Yeah, it seems to me that they're not in a hurry with trying to get everyone in on this first, this 2.0 edition. They're trying to get in all the people who are interested, getting them to play as much as possible and in different environments. I don't think this is for... I mean, it's for anyone who wants it, but this isn't for everyone. Not everyone, yeah.
No, I mean, they've said before... year one was we get the rules down.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, as they are, maybe bar a couple of issues with characters and manoeuvrability, there's nothing wrong with the rules. They work. They do what you need them to do.
Right.
They're quick, they're fast, they're easy to remember, as long as you didn't design the game.
Yeah.
That's not an issue. Year two is about sorting the armies out. I mean, obviously beforehand they had 3 armies.
Right.
And a limited amount of units.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that hard. You could playtest them because of the small size. Now, I mean, everything, I think the smallest army list now is about 18 entries or so, up to about 25, 27. So you've went from that 1 page to generally about 4 or 5 pages per army. And it's just the whole now potential for what you can do with the lists.
Yeah, okay. So.
And that is where the balance issues come in. I mean, some things just stand out like a sore thumb. They talk about Master of Death. We'll triple the points, and people would still take them.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. So it seems like they really have... this really is... For a lot of people, this really is just a beginning. So that's good to hear, but it's definitely something to be aware of if you are interested. Now, I think that's pretty much everything we wanted to cover. So, Max, were there any final questions that you wanted to ask John?
No questions really, except how mummies are looking. But yeah, pretty much that.
How do they look? Dry and covered in bandages. Mummies. Let me see. They are probably one of the most expensive units in the game now.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
They're standard infantry.
Yeah. They're not.
Yeah,
They're not like elite or anything, or no.
Well, yeah, they would. They would be the elites of an undead list, in that they're very tough.
Right.
They are.
Right.
They regenerate and they're very strong.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
You've got the cursed pharaoh character who works with mummies.
Oh, cool.
Like much in that the berserker lord only inspires berserkers in a dwarf list.
Right. Okay. Well, that was my last question. If
Okay. Well, I just wanted to say, John, it's really been a pleasure. You've given us a fantastic look at how the first tournament went, and kind of let us know that, you know, this isn't where Mantic are going, but this is where Mantic are starting from to get there, and that's really good to know.
As far as the Invitational goes.
Yeah, and definitely something to keep in mind. So people who are really up for another tournament, you know, you can join in, and, you know, the game is only going to get better, apparently, which makes me really excited.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah, so...
Well, yeah. So, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Or putting up with me, really, whatever the case may be.
It's been fantastic, and yeah, we'll let you know if you sneakily get into anything before us again. We'll definitely be in touch.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much, John. Okay.
No problem, guys.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Well, that's it for Mantic Moments Episode 2. We hope you enjoyed it. Now, I realise I forgot to mention in the intro that we actually had Month in Mantic as well, so technically that's 5 sections. But if you got this far, I'm sure you already realised that. Now, next episode, we're going to try and take a look at some of the rules for Kings of War, version 2, and we're just going to give our thoughts on it and our understanding of the rules, and maybe some issues we might have and things we might like. Now, we really are trying to try out new things each episode, for now at least, and we're trying to have fun. So if you have any comments or suggestions or anything really, even things that you'd like us to cover on next episode for Kings of War 2, you can now contact us by email at ManticMoments@gmail.com, and that's all one word, Mantic Moments. So just pop us an email there if you want to say anything, and we will sure to take it into consideration and try and get back to you as soon as possible, or, you know, talk about it on the episode, whatever seems best. And that's it for episode 2. We're going to let this play out yet again with Zombina and the Skellingtons.